Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Monday edition of Moohead Radio. I'm your host, a big and furry bovine. For the next however long, we'll be talking about the Cleveland Browns, the game that was, silent Covidity running through Berea, and what that might mean to the Browns, and all other fun kind of stuff. Joining me is Brian and Tony the Calf, two mainstays on Moohead Radio. And you never know who might kind of traipse on in here later. At any rate, the Browns have shut down their facility yet again as COVID rears its ugly head. This time, Andy Janovich who played.
And the head coach, Stefanski, was also a positive test.
When did that come out?
This morning. They had it on the CBD deal when he did the morning presser.
Huh.
So he did that from remotely from his house.
Really? See, I didn't read that.
Yeah.
Oh, good information. I mean, if that's I'll, as I always do, it's not that I don't believe you, Brian, because you've picked up on the early stuff on this long before I am, because I am out and about gallivanting, doing whatever it is I do. But anyone in the chat room, if you can second that motion, that's not so good. Andy Janovich played in yesterday's football game, so we really want to be.
General writer confirms head coach Kevin Stefanski, fullback Andy Janovich, defensive tackle Larry Ogunjobi, and never mind. I misread that. Never mind. Move ahead.
Okay. All right.
Commenting on the
we're getting ahead of ourselves
here.
I mean, the thing with Janovich, first of all, we're going to be keeping an eye on the vanquished Texans to see if any of their players, show up now COVID positive. Not to mention, I mean, we can assume that Janovich was playing in the game asymptomatic, and which means that he was very contagious. And it means that when, more time inside caused by the weather delay and all of that stuff, you're going to probably be seeing other Cleveland Browns,
especially with the backfield. So Hunt, Chubb, and Baker.
Yeah, I mean, it's not such a good look right now. And early in the week, this is the first time the Browns have had to go through a COVID positive scenario in the beginning of the week, so that people understand what some of the protocol is. If he is asymptomatic and he tests 2 negative tests in succession, over I believe a 48-hour period, or is it over a 24-hour period?
Sounds like Stefanski, from what I can read from a number of tweets, they haven't confirmed he's tested positive yet, and that he is isolating as an abundance of caution.
All right. That's a good follow-up. Thanks, Tony. And, again, if he's asymptomatic and he comes up with 2 negative tests within and I believe it's a
48 hours.
48-hour period. Then
48 hours, yeah.
Then he can move on. The problem is that people who are exposed to his positivity will only test positive days later, and they will not have time to be on the field against the Eagles. And, it brings up a dangerous scenario of important players, and every player on the Browns is important because we don't have a stacked roster of, it could conceivably affect us in that way. Joe, what am I supposed to be not rubbing it in? Explain to me.
Joe must be a Texans fan or something, but
no. I mean, I have.
What are you going to rub in? You want 10-7?
Probably because the Browns now are
tied with the Ravens. Yeah, maybe too.
Okay, Joe.
It's like, if you're a Texans fan, what are you going to rub in? You lost 10-7 in a shit game.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, you're the vanquished. I mean,
hey, you're the least retarded kid on the short bus. What the fuck?
Well, and it is. It's like, look who we are tied with today, and the Ravens are going down faster than Jenna Jameson.
That game was a fucking mess too. Holy hell! The rain in the second half was
horrendous.
Yeah.
But again, the thing.
But that's the same storm that hit the Browns.
Yeah.
Here's the thing that surprised the hell out of me, and I don't want to take we're talking about the all-encompassing AFC North and the ability of the Browns to conceivably make the playoffs.
Yep.
And whenever a team drops, because the Dolphins won,
God, Tua looks so good. It's insane.
Yeah, Tua looks good, and now look, Buffalo's tied with them. So they're so Buffalo's at 7-3 on an absolute crazy Hail Mary play, the finest of receptions that you will ever see.
Then 30 seconds earlier, fucking Stephon Diggs on a great catch to take the lead. That was a fine minute of football right there.
Yeah, 34 seconds, you could see, the quarterback for the Cardinals sitting there pondering, like, how did this go all bad? And they managed to struggle to get up to that midfield area. And that last play,
I mean, DeAndre Hopkins just Randy Moss. That's what he was. He was Randy Moss.
Yeah, but the thing
jumped right over everybody.
Yeah, but it was amazing. He threw that ball into the end zone across his body, running out of bounds.
Yep.
I mean, you just can't write it up any more difficult. And, we would be saying, oh, my
shortstop skills, baby. Get Omar Vizquel on the phone. We need a quarterback.
I was going to say the Bills Browns out there, but no, Bills. They have a history of this now, don't they? Line up the field goal now, Scotty. They have a history of finding ways to lose as well. So they found absolutely,
triple cover, the only guy that could catch the ball, and he still catches the ball.
But what surprised me about the Ravens is the way they lost the game was that they were ripped to shreds and run on, just like we ran over the Texans the fourth quarter. It was brutal. And I mean, the guys like Queen, their top linebacker pick, he was getting mowed over. I mean, they were literally getting snowplowed. And it's like, this can't be the same defensive line, because they were complaining about the fact that
they had a couple guys out.
Calais Campbell was out. Yeah.
And there was somebody else that was out. Plus, they had an injury during the game, which really fucking helped me.
They obviously don't have the depth I thought they had, because honestly, that was brutal watching. I mean, and you've got Cam Newton at quarterback, who's, given up a few games this year, and they didn't have to rely on Cam at all.
No.
At all. I mean, they just kept handing the ball off. And who is that young man? Who's an Alabama running back?
Yeah, Damian Harris.
My God. He looked like Earl fucking Gamble. Just a surprising loss.
And you look at their touchdown, it was a trick play. They had the wide receiver who was a quarterback in high school go out there on a trick play and throw a touchdown.
The law firm, Jacoby and Myers.
Yeah.
But yeah, can you beat that in a glaring rainstorm? Put the ball in the hands of a guy who hadn't thrown a pass since high school.
And what's funny is they couldn't run with Lamar in those same conditions. I mean, he made some plays, but he couldn't. He wasn't his usual human highlight reel self.
Well, he has complained now about the obvious nature of the offense. I mean, right now they're in a rut, and of course they have 7 games left, just like we do, to prove themselves one way or the other. But they're in a real rut right now, and that affects with them coming up. It emboldens a team like the Browns, saying, well, maybe we can steal a win from that team. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but look, the Patriots are no juggernaut, man. And they just got
but now they got 5 wins on the year. So, and they play the Bills I think, next.
No, they're 4,
So
5-1, aren't they?
No, you're thinking of the Eagles.
No, the Eagles
Patriots don't have a tie. There's only been one tie. It was the Eagles and the
but they're
Bengals.
3-5, aren't they? Or 4-5 now?
4-5.
4-5.
Mhm.
All right. I mean, but nobody can mistake them for being a playoff football team. Let's put it that way. I mean, they don't have outside receivers who can hurt you, and the whole thing was mysterious of how the Ravens screwed that up. But as far as the Browns are concerned, we got to go in as healthy as we can go in, and this is going to be a day by day by day thing. I mean, that's the way this plays out. It's going to be a different name popping up every day, I'm afraid, because this stuff, as you and I made a little laugh, haha, about the White House yesterday, but you can see when this shit shows up in an enclosed area, it has no mercy, man. And it's just like any other flu that your kid brings home from school. Everybody in the house gets it invariably, and that's what we have to worry about. As far as answered questions from what I had on Sunday, we were talking about Nick Chubb's choice not to go into the end zone. And my immediate thing was that something he decided to do or something that the team?
No, he was told if they can get the 3 yards or 4 yards to get the first down, to just go down. Don't fight for extra yards and maybe lose the ball. Just go down, and then they'll be able to clock the ball. And
Stefanski's presser, he alluded to the fact that they have a code word. And that's what the code word is if they want you to just, end the play, go down. And that was.
He forgot about it until he could see the 10-yard line, and he was like, "Oh, I gotta get out of bounds or do something."
But you want to hear what the height of confidence is? Mike Florio from NBC and PFT, it said Browns running back Nick Chubb at his first game since week 4 delivered the dagger by not scoring a touchdown. When was the decision made? It was made in the huddle, and I got the call from Baker Mayfield to, if we get a first down or anything, let's just end the game and not score. So I think that what we have is it went from the head coach to the quarterback to the running back, which is the perfect chain of command. So that answers my question, because the way that Nick did it, it almost seemed like it was a spontaneous thing, It didn't seem like it was scripted.
Well, once he broke contain, there was nobody to tackle him, so he's just running down the field. Okay, somebody tackle me now.
And Chubb was saying it was tough not to score. I'm a team player, so I decided to just win the game and not worry about stats, get the win, and go home.
Could have used that 6.1 points.
And I'm so sick of the gamblers, the fantasy gamers and all that,
well, you're not taking it in the ass from Rick May, so, there's that.
Again, so that was an unanswered question.
Congratulations, Rick, on a good weekend.
Yeah, and that's nice that you're congratulating him. And I think that looking ahead, I think yes, the Eagles were 0 for 9 on third down, committed 11 penalties, and at what point do these teams just kind of want to go home? And you can't take your foot off the gas, and you can't underrate anybody, because the Patriots were being stomped by the national press, and look what happened to the Ravens. So you can't go in.
But by the same token, the Eagles came out against Pittsburgh and played their best game, even though they lost.
That's right. I mean, and so look, the Texans have played some good football. And you look at Deshaun Watson's stats, and I mean, he's throwing.
They couldn't figure out the wind.
No, I mean,
So that took away everything that they really wanted to do with Fuller. They wanted to get him 20, 25 yards down the field. Well, you can't throw the ball that far in those
defender.
wins.
I mean, is it any surprise that Sendejo actually had? He was still at a 56.9 rating, but it was his best of the season. Well, that's because how often are you going to be recruited because when the ball's not being thrown that far downfield? And I think that, but you look at the Texans and you look at their 2-7 record, but you look statistically at the season that Deshaun Watson is having, he's having a really good year. And they've lost close games to some good football teams. The Eagles are no different. The Eagles can hurt you. It's just that sometimes the teams get into a mentality where things aren't going well. There may be disillusionment for either against offensive coordinators, defensive coordinators, and I think you're going to start seeing that in Baltimore. Quite frankly, I think that, everybody's genius boy, Freddie Kitchens, is shown up eventually when people study what they're doing. And look, nobody could imagine. I mean, when Freddie was doing well, I was basically equating him to the intelligence of a guy who sold vinyl siding. Nobody was going to say this guy was the Pied Piper, but and sure enough, he went out and proved it. Roman is not a guy who was really, I don't look at what he was doing as being ultra creative or anything like that. He's not a groundbreaker. He was utilizing the pieces that he had, and now some of these teams are catching up to them. And, the Ravens couldn't run the ball. They were down to the point where when they needed first downs, that Lamar Jackson would just keep the ball. Gus Edwards had a few nice gains, but there isn't anything that is consistent about what they're delivering. And I think there's going to be some real question mark regarding their offensive coordinator situation. And the wind. And again, these are unanswered questions that I had from Sunday. Both quarterbacks and teams said, the players on the Browns and Baker and Stefanski said that the weather was worse for yesterday's game than it was in the loss to the Raiders. So sometimes you look at the screen and you don't get a full understanding of what was going on. But when I actually was watching a national weather telecast on AccuWeather, they were showing throughout Ohio that storm had produced in Brunswick, Ohio. Now, where is Brunswick, guys?
I have no idea.
Hold on.
Brunswick is outside of Cleveland.
Yeah.
I believe. And, in Brunswick, there was a measured gust of 70 plus miles an hour.
Whoa.
Well, you saw the Whitecaps on the lake.
Yeah. And people were complaining about power outages all over Twitter who lived in Northeast Ohio.
It's approximately 20 miles southwest of Cleveland.
Yeah. And that's the direction it was kind of shooting across, and so you can only imagine.
It swept up, and New England or Massachusetts only got the southern tip of it, and the rest of it went ran through New Hampshire and Maine. So they only got the driving rain and for the Ravens game.
Yeah, and Tom, yeah, we got to keep winning, right? It's all about the W, But now the games don't get any easier. These become must-win games. A team like the Titans that's having its share and nobody's going to remember these Titans if they continue to play poor football. And the Ravens, somebody's going to come out of that game better and stronger, and somebody's going to come out really severely doubting themselves. And if we keep putting up W's, we ascend. Right now, the pressure on the Ravens is, Browns are we're not expected to be in the playoff race, all right? But the Ravens are the 7th team. To put it in perspective, that is where they sit right now, on the precipice, on the edge. So another pressure factor that's going to work on Lamar Jackson's head. And, he's going to say, I got to do more. I got to do more, because that's what Greg Roman's feeding them is, I was looking at the stats in that game and really peculiar. Lamar Jackson threw 34 passes, completed 24 of them, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. He had a 98.8 rating, and which is all well and good, but on 11 carries, 55 yards. The thing that was crazy is Gus Edwards had 42 yards, Dobbins only 13, Ingram only 5. They only had 115 yards of rushing, while the other team had 173. And New England isn't exactly going to be known for busting, the doors down with the running game. And Cam only had 21 yards. It was Damian Harris who just busted him, and Burkhead, who also averaged over 5 yards a carry. So, the Titans, can come up and play a rough kind of rugged football. And if the Ravens are not rushing the ball, Lamar Jackson, I think they were saying that he has 6 career 100-plus yard rushing games, which puts him 1 behind one guy who I forget who was, and only 4 behind the career league leader, who was Michael Vick, who had 10. But, if you're relying on him to make the big throw, the big run, what do you have a team around him for? That's just not, and the fact that Cam Newton only threw the ball 17 times in the whole game. And that's the way you lose. Wow. That's difficult. As far as, give the Browns credit. Looking back at the game, it was frustrating to me that they made a lucky play to get that 29 yards. And it was, and it was frustrating when DCP just misplayed a kick. But the Browns kept their composure. And that is a huge testament to a team when you're forced to start from your own 2, and you have to get several first downs on a field where you can't afford to go back into the end zone and take a safety and give up the ball or throw a pick. They know you're going to run the ball, and you proceed to do it. That's the way you're supposed to win when you're built the way the Browns are built. So that is a great thing. And the second half of the game, Nick Chubb, watching him once again over 6 yards per carry, but the touchdown run is just a thing of beauty. The last run is, of course, what everybody's talking about, but the touchdown run beautifully executed. The vision, that little cutback he does to get to where he's going. Great to have him back. Again, you're looking at who was great, who was not great in the game, or who were the ultimate winners in all of this. To me, I never look at it that way. It's a team effort. I can't tell you who in the offensive line, they all did a good job. And Baker Mayfield did the best he could do, completing 60% of his throws on a tough day. And, the Browns defense had an extra defender on the field, the weather, and that carried us over. I can't say that any wide receiver particularly, blew the hinges off the door. There were a few throws that Baker made that were really good throws. There were a few that were behind people and were not particularly good. So I don't look at this as anything but a collective effort. I don't think that anybody necessarily improves their stock from a game like this, except the confidence that when we're down on our own 2-yard line, that we can move down the field and that we can summon will from within ourselves. and the outcome of the game. The outcome is one game closer to possibly making the playoffs. The more the more W's you put up, and these are games that you're expected to win, and it doesn't matter if you win by 3 or if you win by 23. It doesn't matter because you're looking ahead now and figuring out a way to beat the Eagles. So and the Browns didn't get a turnover. We thought that would be an important thing, and it seems like it would be. But it didn't turn out that way. But I was surprised. They just couldn't seem to get the passing game going. They in the opportunities that they had, I would have expected a shorter passing game and to be utilizing tight ends more and that kind of thing. I didn't see it. And they would get an occasional good run from Duke Johnson, but then they'd get stacked up on, I would say 3/4 of the runs that they ran, they got stuffed. So, to me, the biggest play of the game is stopping them on 4th down on that really incredibly ill-advised quarterback draw that was so poorly executed. My goodness.
And extremely well played by Myles Garrett.
Well, that's the thing. Hi, Bronk.
Well,
I've seen plays that had, the belief that the quarterback was going to throw the football.
Floyd of Rosedale.
I mean,
Floyd of Rosedale. Fuck you, Bronk.
thank you. I'm there all week.
Quarterback goes back. The idea is you want to throw the rush from outside and everything in the middle is commanded. I don't think it was quite that way. It looked like he took one halting step backwards and just plowed forward without looking where he was going. Actually, if you look at that play again from the other end zone, he would have been better off cutting back to the left than going and following to the right where Myles Garrett peeled off his man and crushed him. But Deshaun Watson isn't paid to be a goal line rusher now, is he? They were Romeo Crennel. They fell back on what they'd seen on the film, and they had not established what other teams had established against the Browns, which was throwing at will and completing passes. The Texans were not doing that during the course of the game, so the Browns felt no compulsion. The other thing that had been killing the Browns were like end arounds and sweeps at the goal line. I was amazed that they ran the play that they ran. But that, to me, is the biggest play of the game because right off the bat, we didn't fall behind. And to be trying to come back in that kind of weather. And I thank Romeo for that because,
I just wanted to call timeout 3 times. That's all.
Yeah. It's there are some people in the world who don't nothing quite like watching. College football in general is all fucked up. I mean, Muskamp lost his job at South Carolina. His first 2 or 3 years up there, he was going at a better rate than Spurrier had for the Gamecocks, and then in the last 2 years, Gamecock.
The good thing about being a SEC or ACC football coach is that you can get fired and then end up being a senator of your state 2 years later. So
and an ignoramus at that. Totally ignorant person. I mean, he doesn't even know the branches of legislation in the country. I mean,
who needs to know that shit anyway?
Fucking idiot.
No
I mean,
deal.
but you see, we're running. There's, it's not beyond belief that movie stars, and I'm not talking about Ronald Reagan, because Ronald Reagan was a movie star many, many decades before. He was
That's Valley days. Everybody's dead.
Politician, California. But no, we're gonna start electing Arnold Schwarzenegger. That's what's gonna happen. People with names, and that so Tuberville gets this massive landslide win, and he goes, and what do you think he's in it for? I mean, give me a break. I mean, more money than he ever saw as a head coach. You're damn straight. That's what it is. Here's another thing that really, I sit back and wonder sometimes. The quote by Deshaun Watson, and I'm looking for this quote. He caught me off guard in the pursuit on the first quarter play when Watson ran for a first down but got run out of bounds. He really sunk in, and I was kind of coasting, looking to throw the go route. He was really sprinting and caught up to me. That caught me off guard. I said, why would that catch you off guard? This guy leads the league in sacks. I mean, do you know who you're playing against? I mean, I'm not saying you bow down to him and you revere him, but for God's sakes, you got to know that in a short box of space, Myles Garrett's beating a lot of people off the line. And, obviously,
I think he was hoping that Myles was somehow being blocked or in some way held up.
Well, I know he just thought he was going to easily coast to the sideline, and it didn't work out that way. Laramie Tunsil was beaten badly for a sack of Watson. The first time the Texans had a third down play in the game, and he made Tunsil look like he was standing still. We got off to a good start that way defensively, the stop on fourth down, a couple of sacks very early in the game. And then for whatever reason, the play calling for them just, there has to be a way. I thought the play that I saw in yesterday's football game, it was a brilliant play. And I'm trying to think, I think that it was, I want to say that it was the Dolphins who ran the play, and it was a pick. But it was a pick in the backfield. Did you see this play? It was ingenious. I mean, he ended up throwing, and I forget the receiver's name who caught the pass. They were on the goal line, and he rolled out to his left, and the tight end, I think, came around, or somebody
came all the way around, and then the guy couldn't. The
Devante Parker touchdown you're talking about?
Say again?
Was it the Devante Parker touchdown?
It was the touchdown that put the Dolphins ahead in the game, and it was a roll left. He's a left-handed quarterback, and he threw back across the field to the right, and the guy was all by himself. It was a goal line play. He was all by himself in the end zone, and when they showed the play again, it was like, wow, you can't call that a pick, because the definition of a pick that is eligible for a foul in the league, a penalty, is if it happens beyond the line of scrimmage. So the play was set up. It was ingenious. And, there are good play designs. We weren't seeing them from the Texans. So I was grateful. I was grateful for that.
Well, the Eagles, we are very inconsistent, which we don't know which Eagle team is going to show up. But I just looked at the weather for Cleveland next Sunday, and it's going to be like in the mid-50s, and the wind gusts maybe 15 to 15.
I thought Bronk was going to say it's going to be 35 and winds of 40 miles an hour. I'm like, oh, fuck, here we go again.
And there's like a 25% chance of rain during the game, so 12-mile-an-hour winds. So that's considerably better. It's not ideal. It's not sunny, but it won't be that cold.
Yeah. So again, what are they early calling for? Repeat to me.
About mid-50s. Temperature, slight chance of rain, 10-mile-an-hour, 12-mile-an-hour winds.
Yeah. I mean, give us an opportunity, and give Carson Wentz an opportunity. Wentz is more of a statue in the pocket, and
he can have really bad games.
Good.
He can be shit. I don't know what's going to happen.
He can be hit too, and he can turn the ball over. He's not having a great year. Austin Hooper is a physical player, Brian, and the fact is that that's why you need guys who do more than just catch the football. I think, there's more blocking than just the couple of guys up front. You have running backs and you have guys like Janovich who are breathing on the opponent. God only knows that weakened them at the line of scrimmage. Maybe that happened during the game. They just weakened because they were developing COVID symptoms.
Well, I think with all of the conditioning that was canceled throughout the year and all the team condition, all of that shit, we're seeing teams being crap in the fourth quarter, and particularly teams that don't have defensive depth. So the better teams are the teams that have 7 to 8 to 9 rotating linemen and have 4 linebackers and maybe the odd slot safety and stuff that can come in and play. So I'm not optimistic about our chances. The teams with the more talent and the better conditioned players are going to be the teams making the playoffs. I still don't think our defense is good enough to, be 10-6.
Well, I mean, and this is what Rick is saying in the chat room. Bad weather will keep the scores artificially low. You really want a situation where your defense is the reason the other team isn't scoring, and we haven't, like Bronx just said, we haven't proven the ability to do that yet. So, the fact that we're where we are is really good. I mean,
there are 4 winnable games there. There's the Eagles, the Jaguars, the Giants, and the Jets. But can we actually do that and be 10-6?
It's consistency. It is consistency, and it's part of a growth because there have been no such expectations except the Hard Knocks expectations. There's been the second year of Kitchens. There have been no expectations. They failed that miserably, but because they didn't have a coach with a brain, now this is really the first opportunity to play really meaningful games where you're under pressure, under the microscope, and have to win, not to keep your job, but to make the playoffs. And it's a different kind of scenario.
Stefanski needs to teach them that, don't take any of these teams lightly. I mean, we saw yesterday the Jaguars almost went into Lambeau and beat the Packers.
Yeah, I mean any given Sunday, it is the fact. I mean, Myles Garrett had a 73.9 rating, Ogunjobi a 71.3, Vernon a 61.7, Gustin a 49.8, Sheldon Richardson a 47.9, and then very few snaps for Jordan Elliott and Adrian Claiborne.
But they need to play. They need to play to make, Garrett and all those other guys better so that they have a rest. Garrett was gassed in the second quarter. They showed him, and he was like,
J.J. Watt was seen breathing heavily as well. I mean, it's a lot of burst to play that position, and it's really exhausting when you're running and bursting and running around plays, and the running backs are just going right by because the team's not really throwing the ball, or you're trying.
Particularly when you're playing against a good one-on-one opponent like Jedrick Wills or, Bonghead Tunsil or whatever.
I'll tell you, Jedrick Wills is a load, man. I mean, that guy is really foundationally very strong. I mean, I'm not going to tell you he's the world's greatest pass blocker from the left tackle slot, yet. But on the ground game, he is like a fucking snowplow, man.
Yeah, it's like Munoz.
Yeah, he just mauls people. He's a very strong guy. Malcolm Smith had a 77.1 rating and better in pass coverage. Taki with a 68.9, with a 67.6, and then Mac Wilson with a 56.9. The top grade in coverage went to Malcolm Smith with, allowing 2 catches on 4 targets for 12 yards. Taki only played 17 snaps, Wilson's grade was his highest this season and didn't miss a tackle for the first time in 4 games. And Goodson had the top tackling grade, and that has been consistent. Goodson has been a solid tackler, but not, he's a guy who would be a depth linebacker under most circumstances.
Yeah, and he's the guy making the tackle after they've already gained 8 yards,
Right.
They've had an 8-yard completion. Goodson's there to clean up the mess, or somebody's ran 12 yards and he's there to tackle him. Well done.
I hope I'm not putting you to sleep, Tony.
No, I think he's got.
I just started a new gig today that has me up at 6 a.m. every morning.
Oh, okay. I'm sleepy.
I moved from Amazon to FedEx because it's $70,000 a year safer and much easier routes. But boy, getting up at 6 a.m. is a bit of a struggle when you're
paying you more, young man.
When you're used to working midnights and night shifts.
How old are you now, Tony?
30.
My goodness, 30 years old. And I was talking to you when you were 16. Is that right?
I think 13.
So you've been grooming him for 14 years, man.
Yeah, it's like
I'll be 31 in 3 weeks.
You think he'd be groomed by now?
Yeah, there were two young guys. There was the Jewish kid. Remember him?
Mac Rosenberg.
Yeah, he's probably a lawyer now.
Or a dentist.
Yeah.
Last I heard of him 5 years ago, he was doing some producing for a local radio station or something like that.
Oh, good for him. Good for him.
Is she still Amsterdam?
Ronnie Harrison with a 77.6 rating, Sendejo with a 58.6, and Red Wine with a 52.5.
Red wine.
Yeah, I feel your Red Wine is not exactly a superstar.
Who wrote that song?
The field.
Yeah, I'd say Harrison has done a pretty good job, and he has been standing out only because the rest of the safeties on the team are just not very good, and it makes you wonder why we didn't pursue a better safety when we had the opportunity at the trade deadline. Because I think any replacements would be stronger than Red Wine and Sendejo. I mean, really, I don't mean to demean these people, but
you can't put much stock in the NFL trade line. Teams really overvalue players, and it's every year it's a fucking dud. You get one or two deals, and that's really about it.
Right. We're looking at important plays from the game looking back, and Harkey made his only field goal attempt, but that was not an easy kick. It traveled through the uprights, but it didn't get over by very much. And later on, we saw Fairbairn try the same kick from about maybe 5 yards further and hook it out left. The goal line stand, that's the big one that comes through. The missed field goal by Fairbairn really kind of changed the way the game was going to be played because of a change of mind by the head coach, which was without courage. The first Chubb, the Chubb touchdown run, I thought was a thing of beauty. That one stayed in my brain, and obviously Chubb's final run. Those are the things that, in a game that was not exactly dominated by offense, that's that.
I mean, I don't even want to watch it again. Have you watched it twice?
No, it's one of those games where you pretty well know, unless you want to sit back and take a look at individuals and what they're doing on the front lines and things of that nature. It's pretty much as it looked. I'm like the rest of the Browns, games behind me and looking forward, but the COVID thing is going to cloud the whole thing. And
I've been worried about that for us. Like, we finally have a great year, and then that fucking.
So the league has to shut down in week 12.
Exactly. Yeah. December 23rd, it shuts down for 5 months.
I would love to see an analysis of Josh Allen's first. I guess they're 7-3 now. First 5 games versus his last 5 games. and to see how a split personality this is. I mean, 2 more interceptions for Josh Allen, and he was throwing at 70% completion rate.
The one game he was 31 of 38.
Yeah, I mean, it was like kind of
The
not
400-yard game.
And he completed 64% of his passes against Arizona, which isn't bad. But throwing 49 times isn't necessarily the way you want to get it done.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm glad we don't play the Cardinals. I think
that Kyler Murray kid is going to be something. Oof.
I think the Cardinals would rip us a new asshole.
What a strange way he has.
And of course, he had to wear yellow goddamn shoes to really make him look like a fucking bird.
Well, he's fast, but he doesn't run. I can't explain it. It's almost like he's like a super-powered wind-up toy. I mean, it's really he scoots along so fast, and he gets up to speed so quickly. Really surprising. I've been watching him consistently running through defenses, and it's like, man, there's a little crease, and I just didn't realize, early in the season, and through college, I didn't really have a focus on this guy. But man, he's fast.
He does hold the ball away from his body a lot, but there's nobody that can catch up to him and knock it out of his hand.
I mean, he's like having, Eric Metcalf who can throw. I mean, it's really a potent combination. But looking at Buffalo, I mean, again, you start wondering what was the game plan and why. Josh Allen ran 7 times for 38 yards. Zach Moss 7 times for 20. Devin Singletary 4 times for 15 yards. That's 73 yards rushing. What happened? What's going on? I mean, Buffalo has no running game, and that is going to catch up to you because it's going to put all the expectations on Josh Allen, who isn't as good as his first 5 games. He's better than we thought he was going to be, for sure. But I'm not seeing that he can sustain what he was doing the first 5 games of the year. So,
yeah, he'll come back down to earth. You got to have a whole package. You can't have your young quarterback with one half of an offense. You have to have a running threat, and I mean, we see it with the Browns. I mean, they have fantastic running backs and wide receiver play.
Yeah, and we thought that Cincinnati might show something to Pittsburgh. Yeah, they showed their ass. What they showed. You want to talk about a team with no rushing? My God, the Bengals. I don't even know. Giovanni Bernard is not a front line.
Mixon's hurt, but I mean, Mixon can only do so much.
Well, there was one stage of that game. It was like the third quarter, and the Bengals had like 29 yards, and the Steelers had 21 yards. I mean, it was not the sort of running game, but yeah, you're right. They are shit.
Yeah, but Cincinnati actually had 139 rushing yards by the time you counted everybody in, and Pittsburgh had 44 rushing yards the whole game.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, 4 touchdown passes.
Yeah, Big Ben just threw up fucking everything and get caught.
Yep, and those are the kind of games that he has sometimes. But yeah, 36-10, not so good. Not so good. So, this is what it is. We're gonna be back again on Friday. I'm gonna cut the show a little short today because I am having some back spasm issues, which is a regular thing. But I am playing tennis twice a week, by golly, so that's good news. And this way I can get up and not be compressing my spine so much. But on the overall, I'm very pleased with the fact that we're 6-3. I didn't expect that the game would be a very titillating game, that we were going into 40-mile-an-hour wind territory, but every game now, it takes on a life of its own, and these games against 3-5, 3-5-1 kind of teams are
treacherous.
they're must win.
Yeah.
especially in your home field. You're not having to go through the travel regimen. You're going to have these 3 weeks. And who do we play next after the Eagles?
Jaguars away.
All right.
Yeah.
So if you can manage to turn the corner 8-3, all right, with 5 games left,
But
then you're somewhere. But
then you can start to dream, maybe.
Yeah, but now we're just one of many. All right, is what it amounts to, and some will rise to the occasion, some will fall.
Yeah, well, I really don't think we're better than the Dolphins or the Ravens or the other teams. So they have 3 lost teams out there, and I'm definitely not better than the Cardinals.
I tell you though that it looks like with the way the Browns are playing. I mean, you could factor in weather and all that aside. It feels like losing one of these games could lead to a snowball in a big furry hurry.
Yeah, well, I mean, you can't give up on the Ravens for going through theirs right now.
Yeah,
give up. And Greg, this is great. Look at this for Josh Allen. His first 5 games, 14 TDs, 3 interceptions. When you go into games 6 through 10, 7 TDs, 4 picks. So
people are figuring them out.
Well, and the fact is, he winds up and has to fire the ball, almost 50
Well,
times.
one of the second interception that Peter caught, it was right to him. I mean,
I'd be curious at the combined records of the teams that Josh Allen played in the first 5 weeks compared to the second 5 weeks.
I think everybody's getting smarter. I mean, look, Pittsburgh is still undefeated. The Ravens, apparently, according to their own quarterback, are being figured out. The Browns are who the Browns are. The Dolphins are ascending, all right, since making the decision to play a young quarterback.
Yeah.
Now, is that because he's shown no tendencies and they need more film on him, or what the story is? But things have gone up for them since they made that decision. And there are other teams.
Well, he's also less streaky than Fitzpatrick.
Yeah.
Right. And the Titans are a team that through 16 games has always had difficulty playing a full, beautiful 16-game schedule. And you wonder with Vrabel and that whole cast of characters, are they going to settle in to more of a 9-7, 10-6 team? And will they this time kind of fall out of the playoff picture rather than sneaking in? But yeah, the Miami-Buffalo game, the last game of the season, these games are going to have some very deep resonance. So, yeah, and this is the truth. The Eagles and Jags, you got to come out of this with the 2 wins, and let's just keep our fingers crossed that the Cleveland Browns are healthy going into this Eagles game and that this virus thing doesn't catch fire. Everybody, thanks a lot for tuning into this edition of Moohead Radio. We'll be back again on Friday to talk specifically about the Eagles game when we know more about the chess pieces who will be playing in the game. Guys, thanks for coming out and helping me. I appreciate it as always. Greg in the chat room, thank you. Rick in the chat room, thank you. All the people who provide information, thank you. Brian for letting us know, about the whole situation with Stefanski. I didn't even realize that he was doing that, the whole thing quarantined, whether he is in fact positive or just playing it safe. He obviously had close contact with Janovich. That is what that tells us. So let's see what happens. All right, everybody, take care. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again on Friday, 6 p.m. Until then, hasta la vista, Pastor Head. Good night.
Hey.